In today's video, I want to show us how to install MySQL version 9.1.0 called Innovation. To start, all you need to do is head over to the official website at dev.mysql.com/download/mysql/5.5.html. And at this point, you can select the operating system version that you intend to use and then the version of MySQL. So here, if we intend to select version, we can select 8.4.3 LTH. We can select 8.0.40. Depending, we can equally change the operating system to Ubuntu Linux or any other one of our choice. But here we want to go with version 9.1.0 Innovation and Windows operating system. So here we are. All you need to do is scroll to choose the one that you want to go with. So we have different versions. We have the MSI installer. This one is an executable file which will install the MySQL for you. We have a zip file which you will have to extract and then install it manually. If you are using the zip file, all you need to do is extract it, open the folder. Once you do, you will find MySQL installer in one of the folders, and from there a configurator file actually, and you can continue installing with the configurator file. And then we have the second one, bulk binaries and test suites. So go ahead to pick the one of your choice. But for the purpose of this tutorial, I am going with the first one, the MSI installer, the one with version 9.1.0. Of course, all of them are version 9.1.0 with size 118.1 megabytes. So all you need to do is click on the download button and it's going to take you to this page. If you want to sign in, you can optionally sign in. If you don't intend to sign in, click on this no thanks to start your download immediately. So I have the copy of the file already on my system, so I'm not going to download it again. So go ahead to download, and once it's done, locate the file at the location that it is downloaded. So here I have mine downloaded here. So all I need to do, I want to copy it to my desktop, and here it is in my desktop. It is now in my desktop folder. So the next thing that I want to do is right click on the file. Right click on the file and then select open. So once that's done, go ahead to run. Click next. Accept the terms and conditions to be able to continue. Go ahead to read the terms and conditions if this is your first occasion of using this product. Click next to continue. You can go ahead with the typical installation. You can go ahead with custom. You can go ahead with complete. Complete is going to install all program features and is going to require a lot of disk space. We have the custom. It allows you to choose the program that you intend to install and where you intend to install it. The typical install most common features recommended for most users. So if we click on the typical, it's going to install based on what most users want. If we click on the custom, we can choose what we intend to install here. So we have MySQL Server. You can select the client programs will be installed on local disk. So you can choose that. We have development components. So if you don't want any of this, you just need to click this icon, this very one that I've clicked like so, and then you say entire feature will be unavailable. You click it like so, and it's going to remove it. So if you want just the client program, you say will be installed on local drive. You can also check entire feature will be installed on local hard drive. So this is going to install the entire features. This is going to install the program, the client programs, depending on what it comes with, but it's going to install the core client programs. Another option is the feature will be installed when required. So this one will be, when you need it, you can install it manually. So maybe using the terminal or, some other technique. So you can analyze your disk usage at this point. You can see the disk space that is left, information about your hard disk. So that is the function of the key. You can, choose the location that you want to install your MySQL program to. You can change the location here. These your local disks, your program files. You can see the tree. So you can choose the folder that you intend to use here. You can create. So I'm going to leave it to be in this folder like so. So that was just one of the things you can do with the custom setup. So I don't want to use the custom setup. I want to use complete. I wanted to install the complete features of MySQL on this machine for me. So go ahead to use custom if you intend to use custom. Use typical. Typical will not require a lot of your disk space, but it's going to give you all the things that you need. Go ahead to use typical. It's going to install the major programs that you need to successfully run MySQL. So I will go ahead to install complete, and then I say install like so. And it has begun the installation process. All I need to do is click yes when it pops up. So once this is done, ensure that you've checked the MySQL configurator. This is slightly different from version 8 that, you have to configure it before it installs the, programs that you need, and you can choose the applications that you intend to install with it. What I mean by applications, other programs, you could install Python extensions, plugins. So those forms of plugins that you can choose. It was possible with MySQL version 8, but here it is entirely different. You have to install some of the prerequisite programs, and then you proceed to run the configurator afterwards. So that's exactly what we want to do here. So go ahead to check this, make sure that it is selected like so, and then you do finish. So once that is done, the MySQL configurator will start automatically. Another way of doing this, if you mistakenly close it without running the MySQL configurator, you can head over to the folder that it was installed. Of course, I believe I showed us that the default folder is MySQL, then MySQL Server under the programs file, MySQL, then MySQL Server 9.1. So all we need to do is head over to that folder, which is here. Unless you change, it's always going to be in this folder. So here we have the bin folder. So once you scroll to the bin folder, you can find the MySQL configurator. So this executable file here is what we just opened here. So if you omitted running it, you can always come back to this folder. You can always get to this folder. Once you get to this folder, you execute this MySQL configurator as an administrator. So that being said, all we need to do is click next, and then we select the program data file. So I'm going to leave it on this folder. So you are free to choose, the location that you want it to be stored. But mostly, if you are not running it on a production environment, if you are not using it for, production purpose and it's not running on the cloud, it's always fine to leave this default configuration. But if you are running it on the cloud, it's fine to change the, folders, make it different so that if an attacker intends to gain access to your system or eventually gain access to your system, it will make it a bit difficult for the attacker to be able to figure out where some of your important files are. So here we are, it's stored here on our program data. So the next thing that we need to do is click next, now that we've decided where to store. So here we are, the configuration type, we want to use development computer. There are a lot of, like three options that we have here. So the development computer is what I want to go with. The server computer will make it run as a server. Let's look at what is written here. Several server applications will be running on this computer. Choose this option for web or application server. MySQL will have medium memory usage. So if you want this application to run, if you want to run this on a server that is running other applications, so you have to go with this server computer. If you want to use this computer dedicated for, MySQL database, this database server, then you go with this one. But here I want to use it for development purpose, so I will have to go with development computer. Then the connectivity, TCP/IP. TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol. IP stands for Internet Protocol. So you can leave it on the default port since we are on a development computer. But if it's on the cloud, I will advise you change the port number so that an attacker will not attempt to gain access to your database easily using your IP address and the default port number. So you can change these ports if it's on the cloud environment, if it's on a production environment. But for the purpose of this tutorial, and since we are using we are on a development environment, I advise we keep it default. So named pipe, we have shared memory name. So I'm going to uncheck this, let it remain default as it is. But if you want to choose any pipe name, you can go ahead to use it. Then we have advanced configuration. Advanced configuration and login options. If you want to activate it, you can just check it like so. And once we do, we can see on this other part that advanced options are here. So let's check it and then explore the advanced options that are available. The most important thing is the root password, which you must not forget. So since this tutorial is for development purpose, you can use a weak password, a password you can easily remember. But if you intend to, use it on a production environment, you must ensure that your password is strong enough to withstand brute force attack. So here I'm going to go with my password. And I have just selected my password. So if you want to create a user account, you can add a user account here. Apart from the root account, you can add a user account if you want to. All you need to do is specify the username. The host, you specify all host like so, or you choose local host. Either way is going to work. You just need to choose the user name. Maybe you can say analyst, like so, and then we have role. If you give it the database admin, this person will have access to all the databases. This person can grant privilege, the person can revoke privileges, and can do almost everything that the root user can do. So we have other ones, user admin, of course, we can see the user admin can grant rights to create user logins and reset passwords. There are a lot of them that we can add here, the designer, the manager. So scroll to check the one that best match the purpose of the user account that you intend to create. You go ahead to select it. So at this point, I'm not going to add any user. So I will go ahead to return back, and after that, go ahead to leave this authentication as it is, because you cannot uncheck. The authentication is simply the authentication algorithm that will be used to verify or hash passwords on the database. So it's sometimes it's like plugin, and I think I don't know what algorithm this very version is using, unless I query it on the database. But the common one is MySQL native password algorithm. So go ahead to leave it the way it is, and then you enter a password for that user. So I'm not going to add any user account. Like I said, this user account functions just like the root account. The only difference could be on the privileges, the role that you assign to that user. So that's how it works. So the next thing we need to do is click next to proceed. So take note of your service name. The service name is more like what you can use to start your server. So you can change it to whatever name you intend, but personally, I will leave it at MySQL 91. So you can leave it like so, or you change it to what you can remember. And then the next command that we have here is start MySQL server on system startup. So if you want the server to always start automatically, go ahead to leave start the MySQL server at system startup. If you don't want it to start automatically, uncheck this. Now, this is the essence of unchecking this. Personally, I like to know the servers, the program that is running on the background. So if you have this checked, MySQL will always start automatically. But if you uncheck it, MySQL will not start automatically. So you will have to go to services. If you go to your search bar and then you search for services, you will always have to come and start it here. And once you open this interface, you will be able to find the service name displayed here, and you can always right click either to start or stop the service. So that is the essence. So personally, I'm going to uncheck this because I want to always start my service when I want to use the database server. I don't want it to be running when I am not using it. And then we have run Windows service has. We have standard system account, and then we have custom user. So let's read what is here. The MySQL server needs to run under a given user account based on the security requirements of your system. You need to pick one of the options below. So how do you always want to run your Windows service has? Do you want to run it as a standard system account, which is recommended, or do you want to run as a custom user? So here we have not actually specified a user, but in most cases, standard system account is recommended. So we are going to go with this because we do not have any custom user that we intend to add to this. So we will go with standard system account and do next. And then do you want MySQL configurator to update the server file permissions for you? So you can say yes, grant full access to the user running the Windows service if applicable, and the administrator group only. So I'm going to go with this first option. You may also choose yes, but let me review and configure the level of access. So what does this mean? So this is how this works. There are some configuration files that are available in this program data, MySQL, like so. So if you choose yes, MySQL will secure the files that are available here for you. But if you choose let me review myself, that means you are the one that will configure the level of access. So if you leave it at yes, MySQL can then go to any file that it finds important and then set it to read only to prevent a user from altering the file either by mistake. But when you say yes, let me review, that means for any new security files or configuration files, you are the one that will have to review the configuration and then decide on the permissions of the file. That's the permissions on the file and every other thing. So personally, I will leave it at yes for MySQL to do the configuration for me. The next thing is proceed to next. So login options, here, where do you want to log your error? So you can choose where you want to log your errors to. Here you can specify where you want to log your errors to when there is a login error or any other form of error. So you can specify where you want to dump your log file. So the general log, you can equally choose where you want to position your general log file. So you can uncheck to leave it at where it is. The slow query log, challenges that could affect your server. Maybe when you run a query and it's instead of executing within the average time, it will require more time than average. So such query can be logged. So and how many seconds will it take for you to know it's a slow query? Here it's specified 10 seconds. So you can increase or decrease. And then the binary log files, you can always also choose where you want to dump the log files. So here it is in MySQL bin folder. So you can choose where you intend to dump yours. So the next thing is proceed to next. The server ID, I advise you leave it as it is. This appears as a result of what we checked earlier at the start of this configuration. So we just need to specify a unique numeric identifier which can be used for replication topology. So the default is 1. So you can leave it as it is. So if you want to specify your own, you can leave it as you want. And then the table name case. Table name, when you create your table, maybe you use an SQL statement, say create table. You specify your table name followed by your parentheses. That's your bracket. You see, the table name that you create by default is in lowercase. So if you want to preserve the case that you use, so you can choose this such that if you say it should be in a toggle format containing lowercase and uppercase, it will be preserved. If you want it to be in capital letters, that's uppercase as it is typed, it will be preserved. So personally, I will go with default lowercase. And then sample databases, this is going to, add sample databases to your database. So this sample databases is fine when you are learning. It can help you. They have databases that has foreign key linked. It's all sample databases, and if you are using an application like MySQL Workbench, you can easily use these sample databases to see the way it is designed. You can even diagrammatically, access it through ER diagrams. So there are a lot of tools in MySQL Workbench that you can use to, deepen your learning in database creation. So if you want to choose any of these databases or debut, all you need to do is check like so. I don't intend to create these sample databases, so I will leave it as it is. So the next thing is click next. And then you execute. The configuration has been applied. So all we need to do is click next and then select finish like so. So how do we know that MySQL is installed on this system? So let's go to services to check if it is in our list of services. So this is perfect. It has appeared on our list of services. Another thing that we need to do is go to paths to check if it is added to path. The essence of having a program in the environment variables path is to make it work on the command line. So if a program is not added to path in the environment variables, it will not be recognized when you try to access the program through the command line. So let's go to our environment variables. So edit the system environment variables like so. So we want to check the system environment variables first. We click on path and then edit. So it is not added to path here. So let's check user profile. So we click on path and then edit. So we can see that MySQL is not added to path. And if we go to the terminal, if we search for CMD and right click on the terminal to run as administrator, then we do MySQL -u root, since we only have the root user alone, and then -p to specify the password. We can see that MySQL is not recognized. So for us to complete this configuration, we need to add MySQL to path and then restart our system. So I need to locate MySQL in that program files folder that it is installed. So I have MySQL here in program files, then MySQL server 9.1, then the bin folder. All I need to do is click on the address bar, then copy the address, the path, and then go to environment variables. Then in our environment variables, I can then add it to, path, but I want only myself to access it. So depending, let me add it to system variables. But if I want only this account, only myself to access it, all I need to do is save it to user variable. But if I want the whole, other users in the system to be able to access it, I need to add to system variables. So I need to click on edit like so to add to system variables. And then I do new and paste the path here and say okay. Then okay like so. So that being done, the next thing that I need to do is restart my system for the changes to be effected. All right, welcome back. I have successfully restarted my system. So let's go to our terminal to check if my SQL can be accessed through the terminal. So I want to type PowerShell You can use CMD, and then I want to run as administrator. Personally, I like to use PowerShell because its command is more friendly, but you can use command prompt too. So here I want to type MySQL -u and specify the username root. So if you added another user, like that example we followed, trying to add analyst as a user. So if you added, you can try logging in with that analyst account, or you continue with the root account. Then we do -p and you press enter like so. It will prompt you to enter the administrator's password. Remember, while we were configuring the MySQL, we entered a password, a password for the root account. So we want to make use of the password now. So I'm going to proceed to enter mine. Okay, we've been able to access MySQL interface, and of course you can see server version 9.1.0 MySQL community server. So here we can then say show databases, a sample query. You can then run, and of course we can see the list of databases that are here. So it's not advisable to always run commands on terminal unless the very first time that you are trying to configure your database server. So it's fine you run commands on terminal, but before you do, make sure that you've written your code on a notepad, though notepad is not advisable too. So you can use an IDE, an integrated development environment like VS Code, that is here. You can use VS Code, write your code, check it very well to be sure that it's correct, especially when you want to create another user and administer privileges. So you have to be very sure that everything is in place before you copy the code and run on your terminal. So I'm going to exit and access this through Workbench. So I have MySQL Workbench installed here. So if you don't have Workbench installed, don't worry. You can go online, search for MySQL Workbench, then download and install it. But if you don't, just be sure that MySQL is installed on your operating system, and you can go right away to start using it. So here I have a user, so that I used on my previous MySQL environment. So I want to go ahead to add, I think I should remove this previous one, delete connection like so, and then add a new one. So the connection name, I want to call it MySQL 9.1 or 9.1. The host name, this is a loopback address, 127.0. So you can leave this IP address as it is, or you type localhost here like so. But it's fine, you leave it in form of an IP address as it is. Then the password, you will want to store your password default. So enter your password here, and then you click OK. Since we are not using SSL, so we're going to ignore that. We are not using SSL. It's just a local development computer that we are using. So I think it's fine. We go ahead to test the connection. So there's a message here: successfully made the MySQL connection. So to host root. So all we need to do is click OK now because it's successful. And once that's done, you double click on it to open the query executor. So here we have the MySQL Workbench interface, and we've been able to connect to the MySQL server. So here if I say show databases again,
it should be able to show me the databases that are available. I could say create table if not exists, and then my table name, I want to call it employee, and then the employee table will have something like ID, which I will give it an integer primary key, and then I say name, want to give it just 2 column. Of course, you can run it like so, or you use a backtick. Since this name is, since it is a keyword, it is a keyword in SQL, so you can run it and it will run perfectly well. But in some environments, it could give you issues, so it's fine you use backtick like that, to escape it. And I want to say that is variable character, and the size should be 50, and I say not null like so. And once that's done, I can execute this query at this point. Okay, I have to select the database, and I didn't create a database actually, so I need to create the database. So let me check the databases that I have first. So I can't touch the MySQL database. If I alter something on this MySQL database, it can scatter the entire database server. So I must not go and change something there. So I have to create my own database. So I will say create database like so. Then I'm going to name it education. And then I execute this query. And once that is done, I need to choose the database. So I say use education and execute like so. Then come here and execute the table command. So of course I can say select star from, employee, and it will be able to select the 2 columns for me. I can add to it. So insert into employee. That's my primary key. I didn't make it auto increment. I should have made it auto incremented, but it's fine. Let me say 1 here, and then I say employee name is Peter Chan, like so. So insert into employee. I need to specify the value fields first. I need to specify the field before the value. So I need to say ID like so, and then followed by the name, and I can then run this and it will work. So if I say select star from employee, it should be able to select one and Peter Chan. So thank you so very much for watching this video. I think I'm kind of taking too much time than I should. And also we've moved to something else, being MySQL Workbench. So I'm going to end this at this point. So thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more videos. Thank you.